Hey y'all, this is Molly K. Hope everybody is doing well. Have a couple of stories that I will be bringing to you today. I need to put some things on your radar. They are very important. As we close out the second quarter of 2025, and I'm talking about quarters, I'm talking about financial quarters. We need to be preparing for the next two. There are two more quarters in this year, and we need to expect it to be a very rough summer and a very, very rough fall and winter season. And it's going to be rough for a couple of reasons. One, because of weather. The weather is going to cause all sorts of havoc, whether it's man-made or unnatural. We know what the word says about the lying wonders. So we have to, just be aware of all the adversary's devices. But also, we need to be aware of the pestilences and plagues that will be swirling around in anything that is created, or if it's natural, and every opportunity that the adversary can have to torment us, to take us out, to have us submit to their will, to cause us to mock or be disobedient, the adversary is going to take advantage of every opportunity. So we must be wise as serpents, harmless as doves. And we also need to be watchmen on the wall and warning our brothers and sisters, the Gentiles and Yasharel alike, about what's coming. And we need to keep in mind that, just because we are awakened and we see what's happening doesn't mean that we're in some exclusive club and that, people don't deserve to be saved. The Most High doesn't want anybody to perish. So just like He's been gracious and merciful to us and patient and forgiving, we need to have the same energy for the people on earth, even if they are heathens from heathen nations or heathen family members or hard-headed Israelites in our community, whatever, family members, parents, children. We still need to have grace. This is a period where grace is still able to be given, and we're still able to receive mercy. But when those doors shut up and it's time to be quiet and it is time to go in and protect ourselves, your job is done. You have to just endure to the end and move when the Spirit tells you to move. When the Creator says help this person, or move here, or be still, or say something, or whatever that thing is that you receive, you need to be spiritually in tune to receive that and do when the time comes. But for right now, we all have a job, so I'm still trying to operate in mines and survive. It's very difficult, but I'm honestly believing that we'll be rewarded in the end for our sacrifices and our punishment. So today I'm going to bring you a story from the conversation, and then I'm going to show you something else that I want you to just keep on your radar, because the two stories are going to go together. So in case you didn't know, which I didn't realize, the World Health Organization has finalized their new pandemic treaty, and the U.S. isn't going to sign. And I know I told y'all about that earlier this year when President Trump took office, that he was withdrawing the U.S. from the World Health Organization, from all these other entities that were a part of the Great Reset and Fourth Industrial Revolution, all these different things. So yes, he did that. I do not want you to get it twisted, though. he is still working for the powers that shouldn't be. And they have multiple tracks to get to where they are going. This plan was the liberal plan for, that was under the Biden administration. Not necessarily, I was going to say, there was let's just say there was a divide. Then this was the liberal plan to get you into the Great Reset. For the conservative plan, it's Christian nationalism and racism. So the tools may be different, but the road to the devil is the same. So I'm sharing this with you, one, because it's going to impact our health. It's going to impact what happens in the future real soon. And we need to be aware of what's going on, because there's a lot of movement happening, a lot of disclosures of people suddenly being ill, and we need to talk about it. So it says on March 20th, 2025, members of the World Health Organization adopted the world's first pandemic agreement following 3 years of intensive negotiations launched by governments in response to the devastating impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. The U.S., however, did not participate, in part because of its intention to withdraw from the WHO. Global health experts are hailing the agreement as a historic moment. What does the agreement mean for the world, and how can it make everyone safer and more prepared for the next pandemic? So to let you know, some more pandemics are coming, and that's why I'm talking about it. The fact that they finalized that this year, this is the year of the Deagle report. It's supposed to be so many millions, with the depopulation plans in the Western nations. So again, we have to understand the weapons of the adversary so that we can make sure we are doing everything to endure to the end now, because endure to the end ain't just sitting around waiting and having faith, baby. You're going to have to dodge some obstacles and run and duck and hide and climb some mountains and forage some food and bop some people in their mouth and war with your hands. You ain't getting out of here without some work. And you better read your word so that you will understand what it is that you are supposed to be doing during these times. Waiting and having faith and not doing no work, that ain't gonna get you no place. This Christianity just talk about faith and good things and raptures, and no, that ain't finna be your life. You getting ready to be about that real life in a minute. So this goes towards that story. So it says the conversation asked Nicole Hasson, a professor at Binghamton University and executive director of Global Health Impact, to explain the pandemic accord, its prospects for advancing global health, and the significance of the U.S.'s absence from it. So it's going to be curious. It's going to be interesting to see what they say. So it says, what will the pandemic agreement do? So the accord will bolster pandemic preparation within individual countries and around the world. And let me say this. It doesn't matter if the U.S. as a nation is a part of this pandemic treaty, because the drug makers are a part of it. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and a whole bunch of other billionaire nonprofit organizations are contributing financially to these entities that support this pandemic accord, or this treaty internationally. So just keep in mind, everything now is beyond borders. There aren't really and truly no borders anymore. It's a world government, and that is why you can see so many nonprofit organizations and so many foundations like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation funding everything. It looks like they're everywhere, and they're talking about they're gonna spend down their money by 2045 or some number. I don't remember when, But I just want you to understand that it doesn't matter if a nation participates in anything, because the corporations run the world now. The Gentile corporations run the entire planet. So when they talk about, a nation isn't going to be a part, it doesn't matter, because the corporations within a nation can fix it so that the nation actually has to participate, or is a part of their agenda in some way, shape, or form. So don't get it twisted. Don't get happy. Don't be like, oh yeah, it looks good on paper, but when you go behind the scenes and start following the money and following the agendas of the people who donate the money, you start seeing, oh well, they are all connected. So don't be misled by some of the things that are said in this article. So it says countries signing onto the agreement are committing to improve their disease surveillance, which means they're going to be watching people who have illnesses. So it's going to be very important now when you start taking it behind to the doctor. Understand all them electronic health records, all this checking in, all this insurance, all this. Those are digital footprints. You're in the system. You're already in the matrix. You're in the realm of the point of no return. So it says, and grow healthcare workforces. So there's going to be there, and here in America, there's already a push to get more people into healthcare, because a lot of people left over the last couple of years because of the mandates and all the stuff that went on with the lollipops and things that were discovered later. So the healthcare community has dwindled. So now they need a new crop of ignorant, young, hungry, desperate people to come in and be foot soldiers for this new world government, and that is what they are planning. So when you hear these things, go and look at the Department of Labor's outlooks for jobs for the next 10 years, and you'll see healthcare in epidemiology, which is basically the study of diseases and things like that. Those jobs are going to be in high demand over the next 10 years. And so you're seeing the connection. And this is why I tell y'all to look at those forecasts. Because if you look at the forecast, they basically tell you where things are going. It may not tell you who's behind the scenes, but it tells you at least where, things are headed. So it says countries signing onto the agreement are committing to improve their disease surveillance and grow their healthcare workforces, strengthen their regulatory systems. So that means they want you to get more laws on the books, and invest in research and development. So they want you to help them create more concoctions and things and amplify viruses and diseases to use as warfare on the masses. It encourages countries to strengthen their health regulations and infrastructure, improve communication with the public about pandemics, and increase funding for preparation and response efforts. So it's just very disheartening to read this stuff. It also includes new mechanisms for producing and distributing vaccines. Listen to that. And other essential countermeasures. Finally, it encourages countries to coordinate their responses and share information about infectious diseases and intellectual property so that vaccines and other essential countermeasures can be made available more quickly. So what they want to know, the powers that shouldn't be, is if you create something that's natural that can help people, and they create something that's not natural that they say helps people, but it may help you in the short term, but it may not help you at all. They want you to tell them, and then when they tell them, they're gonna make it disappear, or they want you to help them enhance their bad stuff. So they want to share information, and in the process, they're gonna be throwing out money. They're gonna be giving you money, giving nations money, not you, nations money to participate in their illicit plans. So it's about to get real out here in the field, and then notice it is happening as the deglobalization and de-dollarization is happening. So as a lot of nations are struggling to feed their people, educate their people, all these things are happening on the planet just like the Bible said it would. The beast is going to offer you give you an offer you can't refuse, because you're going to be hungry, because you're going to be homeless, because you're going to be sick, and you're going to be lost so many of your family members, because you're gonna be thinking about the past and what you used to have, and you're gonna be trying to get back to where you think you should be, not really understanding this is the end of the age and all this decline and decadence, falling apart, and it's part of the plan. It just has to happen as empires crumble. So there's going to be a lot of stuff going on with these nations. So you got to pay attention to what's happening. And there is a lot of noise coming overseas in Europe about the lollipop, not the lollipop, but the viruses getting bad again. Now, I don't know how true it is, but I've seen it. So, we got to be careful now about what we see on the internet, because all these new AI YouTube channels popping up and, stuff. It's just it's very disheartening. So, we just have to be careful and put it like that. So it says the agreement will take effect once enough countries ratify it, which may take several years. So I don't think it's going to take several years. I think it's going to take one bad event to happen, and then everybody can be like, oh yes, we're going to do it. It's going to be like soon too. The virus is going to flare back up, and people are going to start dropping and getting sick, and everybody just going to be like, what's happening? And then they're going to go ahead and hop into action. So it says the Biden administration was broadly supportive of a pandemic agreement and was an active participant in negotiations. So this was their track. This was their plan. They had created legislation. They were doing the mandates, forcing people to get the lollipops, kicking them out of the military, forcing police to resign, all kinds of stuff. Healthcare workers were resigning. Doctors were blacklisted for recommending something else. So, like, this administration, that administration, was down with the program. So it says prior to Donald Trump's re-election, however, Republican governors had signed a letter opposing the treaty, echoing a conservative think tank's concerns about U.S. sovereignty. So they were concerned about U.S. sovereignty, but then here we are now with Project 2025 and Christian nationalism. So that's the track that actually leads us to the mark of the beast. That's the track. Well, all of it leads us to the mark to the beast system, and basically to the end. But this particular track, the conservative track, also is the thing that focuses on the mark, not necessarily the no buy no sell system, but the Sabbath piece, the day of rest, and they're going to tie it to climate change, and they're going to tie it to this health accord, or this pandemic treaty. So a lot of things are happening, and you got to pay attention to all of it. So since the U.S. withdrew from negotiations when President Trump signed an executive order to withdraw from WHO on the day he was inaugurated for his second term. Why could the lack of U.S. involvement be beneficial for the world? So it says the lack of U.S. involvement will likely result in a much more equitable treaty, and it is not clear that countries have reached an agreement had the U.S. continued to object to key provisions. It was only once the U.S. withdrew from the negotiations that an agreement was reached. The U.S. and several other wealthy countries were concerned with protecting their pharmaceutical industry's profits and resisted efforts aimed at convincing pharmaceutical companies to share the knowledge, data, and intellectual property needed for producing new vaccines and other essential countermeasures. So that's just very interesting. But you just go to see it, it just goes to show you how the Bible always talks about these nations are in confederacy against him and Israel. And it's still the same way. Other negotiators sought greater access to vaccines and other treatments during a pandemic for poorer countries, which often rely on patented technologies from global pharmaceutical companies. While most people in wealthy countries had access to COVID-19 vaccines as early as 2021, many people in developing countries had to wait years for vaccines because they didn't want them. They ain't nobody want that stuff. And I mean, we ain't finna go rehash that stuff. You can just go back over the last 5 years and see what other countries were saying. They were using other stuff that now people are using and being healed from all kinds of stuff. Like, just, I'm not going to say the names of things. You just have to go back and look and see. So it says, how could the agreement broaden access for treatments? One of the contentious issues in the pandemic agreement has to do with many vaccine manufacturers in each country must share in exchange for access to genetic sequences to emerging infectious diseases. So that is very interesting because, this is where I was telling you about, they're talking about sharing information. So it says countries still negotiating a system for sharing the genetic information on pathogens in return for access to vaccines themselves. So everybody gonna be doing hocus pocus in labs, doing research and stuff, gene editing and stuff, viral editing and stuff. Then they're gonna put it in a database and everybody got to share so they can just have access to everything. Y'all know who want to know about everything. Y'all already know. You already know. So it says, I'm going to skip down. So it says the agreement also specifies that countries and the WHO should work together to create a mechanism for fairly sharing the intellectual property, data, and knowledge needed to produce vaccines and other essential health products. So anyway, I'm not going to read no more of this because we already know it's a bunch of bull. It will also be imperative for member countries to provide funding to support the agreement's goals and secure the innovation and access to new technologies. And so this is one reason why America wanted to get out, because America was like the biggest funder of the World Health Organization. So now other nations, and because the World Health Organization, I think it's a charitable organization, they can get money from nonprofits or from private foundations like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So let me share this with you and then I'm going to end this video. So this is the Pandemic Fund. It's for a resilient world. The Pandemic Fund finances critical investments to strengthen pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response capacities at national, regional, and global levels with a focus on low and middle income countries. They always mess with the poor people. Always, always, always. So I went to news because I wanted to show y'all something. And the last story that came out was December the 19th, 2024. And this particular story says the Pandemic Fund announces third round of funding, marking another milestone in pandemic preparedness. So it says the Pandemic Fund announces third round of funding. The Pandemic Fund's governing board approved a grant envelope of $500 million for its third round of funding to help low and middle income countries scale up efforts to build health systems capacity in disease surveillance. So this is going to be another way that the B system watches you. They're going to watch your health. They're going to watch. This is how they're going to track. They're going to track everything about you. So just understand, as you participate in these systems, you are putting yourself in the B system's watch, per se. Diagnostics and laboratory systems and health workforce, the three critical building blocks to prevent and respond to future pandemics. Interested countries, regional entities, and implementing entities will be able to submit proposals through an online portal starting when? March 2025, right when the announcement for this particular story was announced. So this story came out when? May 22nd, 2025. But the adoption of the world's first pandemic agreement came out when? March 20th, 2025. Okay, so it says third call will be launched in 2 phases. The first phase will be open to single and multi-country proposals in March 2025. The second phase will open in June 2025. Now notice all these things happening in 2025, in the second quarter of 2025. So please don't sleep on the fact that we got to make it to the end of this year, because these people are going to get this money. They're going to present these plans, and they're going to be prepared for the next hocus pocus that happens. The second phase will open June 2025 to regional entity proposals. In developing and implementing proposals as laid out in the medium-term strategic plan, particular attention should be paid to 4 underlying themes. Listen to the themes. 1, health, community and civil society engagement, gender and health equity, as well as investments in strengthening 2 cross-cutting enablers, the National Public Health Institutes, and regional and global networks, organizations, or hubs. So, to date, the Pandemic Fund has awarded grants totaling $885 million that have mobilized an additional US $6 billion in international co-financing and domestic co-investment. So when it say co-financing, I'm not sure if that means loans or whatever, but check this part out. So it says benefiting 75 countries across 6 geographies through investments in surveillance, laboratories, and notice how the surveillance is reaching everywhere. So they have figured out ways to monitor everybody by hook or by crook. Internet of Things, Web 3.0, digital currency, no buy, no sell system. Laboratories and workforce capacity building. In the second round alone, more than 50% of the funds awarded went to, listen, sub-Saharan Africa, the region with the highest demand for pandemic fund support. That's what they say. That's what they say. They love Africa, though. They love to try to help Africa. Love to help Africa. I wonder why sub-Saharan Africa, though. Y'all know why they wants to be there. Y'all know why they want to have surveillance there. Y'all know why they want to have pandemic there. Y'all know why they are trying to make sure everybody is bapped on the continent. You know why. Got to get rid of folks so they can colonize them resources. Low and middle income countries don't want to be caught unprepared again. Demand for pandemic fund grants has far exceeded available resources, underscoring the financing gap we are filling, said Priya Basu, executive head of the Pandemic Fund. As we launch the third call, we are already seeing tangible results on the ground in the countries implementing projects awarded under the first round. These investments will save lives and protect economies for many years to come. So see, they're worried about economies. The expected launch is going to be late 2025 for further funding rounds and subject to available resources and alignment with the Pandemic Fund's strategic plan. So they have a link to the strategic plan. I'm going to put links to both of these in the comment section. I'm not going to put them in the description because I think that has something to do with how the videos are distributed. The algorithms picks it up and decides whether or not it's going to put it out. So I'm going to publish this video and then I'm going to put these links in the comment section. If they disappear, I didn't do it. It says, against the backdrop of tremendous demand for funding that outstrips available resources, the Pandemic Fund embarked on a near-term fundraising effort in July 2024. 5 months into the resource mobilization campaign, with up to US $1 billion in new pledges from governments, The fund is more than halfway toward meeting its short-term fundraising goal of US $2 billion and has secured commitments of support from new philanthropies and private sector organizations. So here it says, launched in November 2022 by leaders of the Group of 20, that's the G20 nations, and hosted by the World Bank Group. The Pandemic Fund is the first multilateral financing mechanism of its kind dedicated to helping low and middle income countries. They always want to damn help somebody. Woo, Lord, the devil don't never get tired of helping you. If this is not a lesson on how the devil works, this whole thing that we talking about is a perfect example of how methodical and how intricately the adversary works to attack us. Like everything about it is just so unnatural, so cunning, so slick. Think about how Eve was able to listen to the serpent tell her all these sweet lies, and she believed it, twisted up the words, and the next thing you know, she outside in the garden naked, struggling. And we struggling because of her disobedience and Adam's failure to accept responsibility. Just same thing. The adversary sits back and thinks of all sorts of ways to hem us up, and we don't even think anything about it. This is like the perfect example of how the adversary works. So, thankfully, a lot of us are awakened and we're able to decipher this stuff and break it down and, warn people who will listen. And unfortunately, we got to use the adversary's tool, so the word doesn't always get out as well. But hopefully, you all will share these videos, because I honestly don't think that we have much time left on the internet. I think soon things are going to be going down, because you look at what's happening in Israel with Netanyahu and the Gaza Strip. You look at what's happening with the Sahel nations. You look at what's happening here in America with the economy, the deglobalization, the de-dollarization, this rogue, corrupt, global system of governments. People are poor, crying out. They can't afford to live. It's just getting bad, and things are going to get worse. So all these things are planned, well in advance, and you just have to keep watch. That's all I can tell you. So one other thing that I want to show you, I wanted to show you about contributors, because I always like to show y'all how you follow the money. So here they tell you explicitly who is a part of this, and you keep seeing the same names, the same charities, the same governments. So you have to know who's who in end time prophecy. And I want y'all to be aware. That's why I'm always tell y'all, follow the money. Contributors. The Pandemic Fund's founding financial contributors are Australia, Gentile; Canada, Gentile; China, Gentile; European Commission, Gentile; Germany, Gentile; Indonesia, Gentile; Italy, Japan, Republic of Korea, New Zealand, Norway, Singapore, Spain, United Arab Emirates, United States; Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, and Wellcome Trust. The founding donors joined by Austria, rich white nation; Denmark, rich white nation; France, about to be poor colonizing nation; India, Netherlands, Portugal, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom. All these nations were in confederacy against us. So this is what y'all need to really be thinking about when you see these names of these nations and these foundations. Understand what that means. They know who they are. They know who we are. And they don't mind a little collateral damage in order to achieve their objectives. So, I'm sharing this with y'all because I really want y'all to pay attention to the signs of the times and what's going on. So it says these nations have committed over 2.1 contributions to date. Excuse me. The pandemic fund continues to raise funds for its work from both sovereign and non-sovereign contributors. So I don't know if America is still contributing to this, but it'd be worth noting that they have in the past. The pandemic fund can receive funding from World Bank, member countries, intergovernmental entities, and non-governmental entities such as philanthropies, foundations, and the private sector, subject to approval from the governing board and the World Bank as its trustee. So anybody can give money to this, meaning corporations, meaning foundations, meaning businesses. So anyway, they have a little thing down here to show you the total contributions from contributors. $700 million since this thing was founded in 2022, November 2022. Then as you can see, the other nations, as they go down, the contributions get smaller and smaller and smaller. But pay attention, family. Pay attention, baby. Pay attention. Follow that money. Follow the money. And get ready, because something coming. They politicized masks, and I already told y'all about that. So you just do what you will. Don't be no fool. You got to use your common sense. Cover your pink parts, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your parts in your britches, in any open wounds. When this weather is bad and it feels wrong, it looks wrong, it's unseasonal, you probably want to stay out of it because it might be a bioweapon. Pay attention to the trees and the animals around you, because those things are indicators of unwellness or health. Pay attention to, if you have pets outside or you leave bowls and things outside, pay attention to stuff that's outside where water is. Look at that water. What's in it. Are you pouring stuff out and it's killing stuff? You might want to pay attention to that. Your vegetables and your flowers not growing? Pay attention to that. It's a lot of stuff happening, so we have to be aware of nature. And that's one of the things. If you are a believer and you understand about how nature works and you're in tune with nature, when something is off. Pay attention to that. But also pay attention to the people around you. If people are starting to get sick, if just pay attention, be aware, and pay attention of those people who got the lollipops and all those extra lollipops, because people starting to act crazy, and I don't know about people, but just pay attention. Anyway, leave your comments below. Let me know what you think about this story. What do you think about the treaty being signed, the U.S. withdrawing, the plans? If you have anything that you want to share about, how you're preparing for the next thing that's coming, because the word tells us that there will be pestilences and plagues, famines, diseases, wars, rumors of wars, people turning on one another, that type of things. A lot of destruction, a lot of death, a lot of illness happening. So we just need to be prepared. We need to be realistic. Let us not be sitting around thinking about doom and gloom and all this stuff. So I know people are going to be like, oh, I don't want to hear all the doom and gloom. Well, you're going to get it here, buddy. Look here, buddy. We're doing that. So anyway, Please like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell notification so that you'll be notified each and every time I upload new content. Follow me on Odyssey and Rumble, as well as on Instagram. The links are in the description, and that is just for in case I get booted off this channel and I need to communicate with y'all. So if you follow me there, you'll get notifications in your email when I post in the other places. If not, then there really won't be a way for you to know that I've been deleted from YouTube. And this is my primary platform, so I don't use anything else because they make sure I don't get to use anything else. So this is all I got. This is all I got. If you'd like to support the channel, you can support my emergency assistance GoFundMe. It is in the, I put a link to it in the description box. I still have not met my goal for the month, and the month is almost over. So if you could help me, I would greatly appreciate it. And if you don't want to fund the GoFundMe campaign, you can use Venmo and Coffee. The links for those will also be at the very top of the description box in the in this video. And this channel is not monetized, so if you do appreciate this work and some of the old content that I have produced over the last couple of years, help a sister out, because we all are like catching it. Those of us who are truth tellers, we are really catching it. And it's just a very difficult time. It's like, we're all under spiritual attack, so it's very very stressful sometimes. But I know we're all going through stuff, and when we're able to let's make sure that we look out for one another, because we don't know when we're going to need some help. Like, you may be good today, but you don't know what's going to happen later. So keep that in mind. And if you have already supported me in any way, shape, or form, especially over the last 30 days, I really do appreciate it. And I'm gonna do a special video for y'all at the end of the month, and just tell y'all about all the things that have happened to me. It's a very interesting story, but I'm gonna just talk to y'all. Y'all know how I do. It's gonna be very practical, but I just want you to understand what life is gonna be like for all of us who are stuck here in Babylon. So we just need to be ready. And lastly, continue to pray, seek the Most High, obey those laws, statutes, and commandments, and repent. Lord knows, y'all knows. I keep saying Lord. Y'all knows we need to repent. We can't even repent enough. We just like filthy rags. And as the days get darker, it's getting harder and harder to walk upright and be righteous and appear to be righteous. And sometimes you question whether or not you are righteous because of some of the things that are happening to you. But just keep up the good fight. Keep, in your word. Strengthen yourself daily. You may be in a situation where you don't have anybody to rely on. It's just you. So learn how to encourage yourself. Learn how to be alone. Learn how to just get into reading not just your word, but about what's going on, because it doesn't make any difference if you're reading what's going on in the world and then not paying attention to what is going on in the word. So you got to do both. You can't be so afraid of what's going on in the world. You just stay in your word, and you can't be so caught up in end time affairs that you don't go back and connect some word, or edify, build yourself up with the word, so that you can withstand the enemy's devices. So as I said, it's going to be a rocky next 2 quarters, so let us prepare. Get your stuff while you can, because supply chain is broken down. Get your herbs and flowers and plants, and have a way to grow stuff inside. Have a way to protect your stuff, even if it's just a gigantic roll of plastic and covering your stuff, like when it rains, or just have a hoop garden. You got to counter the adversary at every turn. You just can't let them win. You just can't. Then when you know better, you do better. All right, y'all. This is Marley K. Love y'all, and I'm out.